A Fox Sports host, Charissa Thompson, addresses an embarrassing divorce on her podcast, apparently. So, Fox Sports host Carissa Thompson was brought to tears while discussing her recent divorce from sports agent Kyle Thousand after 2 years of marriage. I gotta say, Thousand is a pretty interesting last name. So Thompson filed for divorce April 19th, citing irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences, however you pronounce it, right? As a reason for the split, according to court documents obtained by the Blast. Now, here's the thing, right? There's like a few things that would cause like a divorce, right? Number one, money. Number two, whoopee, right? So you know, cheek clapping. And number three, views on religion, right? There's like the three main reasons as to why people get a divorce. So, as one's love story begins, another one ends, Thompson said during a new episode of her Calm Down podcast with Aaron Andrews Thursday. The two were chatting about Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck's engagement earlier this month. Full disclosure, I love you and I'm proud of you, Andrews replied. Okay, weird. I had a S week, Thompson said. The news of my pending divorce came out, and it's obviously not something that I wanted at all as somebody who grew up in a family. My parents were married since they're 18. Well, here's the thing. So, if you really, didn't want to get a divorce, why did you get a divorce, right? I trust in the institution, and I'm somebody that's been married and divorced before. Did you also end that divorce as well? I don't know. So when I got married the second time, I was so hopeful that it would be what you stand up there and say it will be, which is forever, for better or for worse, in all things. And here's the thing. The original nuptials, right, was for better or for worse till death do us part, right? So if you truly believed in marriage, like the original marriage, you'd be together till death do us part, right? Now there are like a few things in terms of like a marriage where there's no way that you can go beyond that, right? And we're talking like massive, massive amounts of betrayal kind of thing, right? To the point where you don't have trust in that person ever again, right? So, for example, someone ends up cheating on you multiple times, and then you find out. Well, you obviously no longer have trust with that individual. So, in that kind of situation, yeah, you probably should get a divorce because the trust aspect is completely broken. If you don't have trust with one another, it won't be able to last, right? So it was the first time Thompson addressed her second divorce publicly. She was previously married at age 25, though it is unclear to whom. As far as the actual divorce announcement, it was a decision that I did not reach overnight. I mean, you only were married for 2 years, right? Just saying. I've been privately dealing with this for a while in my health stuff, whatever that is. A lot that of that stuff I know was related to the stress that I was under to come to this decision that was not easy to make. It comes down to this, and this is my advice to anyone: you have to do what's best for you. You get one life, and this thing is real short, so I knew that I had exhausted all the options to try and keep my marriage intact, and I have nothing but love and respect for my now former significant other, but it just reached a point where I knew that I was better off by myself. Okay, so then what were these differences that are so massive that after only 2 years of a marriage, you call it quits? So Thompson went on to admit that it is embarrassing now having been divorced twice. At her age, she noted her upcoming 40th birthday in May. And here's the thing, right? For a lady reaching up to the year 40 in terms of your age, you're now in like a situation where it's going to be harder for you to end up finding a guy of a certain caliber that you really like. I'm embarrassed to admit that this is now my second divorce at 40, she said, appearing to tear up. And then you worry about this. Oh, you can't keep a man. Oh, what did you do? There are all these like secondary, third, fourth level questions that you start to think about. Then you think about having kids, and I don't have a significant other. There are so many different layers. Well, here's the thing, right? You got to ask yourself, why did you divorce your husband after only 2 years? What are the differences that, again, that are so bad that you somehow didn't see it before you got married? Because here's the thing, right? In terms of like the money, whoopee, and religion, even politics and all that kind of stuff, right? Like all the big factors in terms of like getting a divorce over, you would have these discussions with one another openly and honestly before you were to ever get married, so none of that would even become an issue. So, what were the differences that would cause a divorce, right? But that is not a reason to stay in something that is not making either one of you happy, and you ultimately have to make a decision that's best for you. Even if it feels selfish, it is your life. In the end, that's where I'm at. Thompson married Thousand in a small ceremony on December 30th, 2020 in Scottsdale, Arizona. They moved the nuptials to Scottsdale due to previous COVID-19 restrictions in California, where they are based. I'm kind of thinking that the differences between them is probably more so political, is what I'm going to guess. So Thompson said she's had a wonderful people reach out telling her that they are so sorry about her situation. The thing is, like, I don't know what anyone would really be feeling so sorry about, right? Like, this wasn't really much of a marriage if it only lasted 2 years. So I don't want people to feel sorry for me. It's my decision, and it's my life, and it's a decision that I am at peace with now that I really struggle to make. And you, Andrews, held my hand through the entire process as you have with so many things. For the first divorce and this one, she said about Andrews. In the end, I'm happy that both my ex and I can move on peacefully and be amicable about it. So that's number one. And there's no kids involved because that's a whole other thing. Oh, okay. So that is a aspect of these differences, right? So one of them probably wanted kids and the other one didn't, which kind of falls under the whole Whoopi situation, right? Look, if you can't agree on whether or not you want to have kids or not, whether or not you want to adopt kids or not, you should not be together. Like, period. Like, if you can't agree on that, that is a really massive deal because there's some people who really want to be a parent, and there's some people who just don't care one way or the other, and there's other people who are like, no, I never want kids, period, ever, right? Like, and you know this sort of thing before you were to get married. So why would anyone get married if they know that the other person doesn't have the same viewpoint in terms of having kids? Like, that's just crazy. Thompson said she will get into more details about the divorce in a later podcast episode, explaining that there are a few legal things she needs to work through. The fact that I got to go back and date again is about to get very interesting, she said, hinting that she'd share her dating experience on the Calm Down podcast. She added that she won't be participating in online dating. Here's the thing. I don't know why, but for some reason there's so many women that think that they could duplicate what one of the biggest podcasters does, which is call her daddy or call me daddy or whatever, right? Whatever that podcast name is. She cannot duplicate what the host of that show has done or is doing. She simply can't, right? And it'd be really sad if the reason why she ended up wanting to get a divorce with her husband had a part in her wanting to play the field to get stories for her podcast. Like that would be really depressing to see. Like, look, divorce is a very serious thing, but marriage is also a very serious thing. You shouldn't just go and step into a marriage if you aren't ready, if you aren't agreeing on the major aspects of life, right? Because the person you're marrying to is your partner, okay? It is also a financial contract. So, people need to take marriage way more seriously. I mean, yeah, luckily they don't have kids, technically speaking, because that makes the breakup a lot easier. But financially speaking, that's going to be interesting as well. But let's check out some of the comments on this article. Louis J. Marciano. The numbers have shown for decades that forever is a duration that most do not desire, and when you factor in that many who remain married are unhappy doing it, but hold on for many reasons, you're down to a minimal percentage of couples who are truly happy in marriage. While people sacrifice to stay married in past decades, subsequent generations growing up in modern culture see no reason to remain unhappy. Bottom line of my point, most simultaneously like the idea of marriage rather than like being in a long term union. However, few are willing to be honest with themselves when it comes to admitting this is true, so they continue to do something that they are not suited for. And look, a good example of this is that there's so many people that love the idea of a wedding to the point where they are willing to spend 20, 30, 40 grand on a single day for the experience, right? Like it's just people are crazy. Marriage isn't her problem. Picking a winner is her issue. The problem is probably more her than the guy. She's edible, whatever that means. Anthony Masia responds, "Be careful, my friend. There are some strong filters on that lens. She does look edible at a distance, or when the filters are on, any close ups, which are few and far between, reveal a pizza pizza complexion. No need to thank me now." Kyle's suit looks well pressed, but she still will take him to the cleaners. Apparently, she's earning more than he is. I think everyone should stay married. After all, there's more to life than happiness. 40 with no family but a good career. Another modern feminism success story. Don't worry, honey, the third time is the charm. Why is it embarrassing? Half of all marriages end in divorce. It happens. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. Feel free to give your thoughts on this. My viewpoint is that people need to start taking marriage way more seriously than they do, right? Like, marriage isn't like a game, right? There are some very serious consequences of marrying the wrong person for many reasons. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money, go to 40inbox.com. And what are your thoughts on marriage and divorce for that, right?